So in this session, we begin with the inner joints, and just to remind you of something we discussed before, this is again the same presentation on Velen diagrams for the joint syntaxes. And the point to be noted for the inner join is that whenever we will have two tables to be joined, so it is going to return only the rows which are common between the two tables only. And so let's look at the typical inner join syntax. So this is the inner join syntax that we are going to use in all of our SQL joints, and in fact there is a variety among them. There are two in number, and the first one being that you can use you can indicate the type of columns that you want to extract from the two tables in the select clause, and in the from clause, between the two tables that you need to join, you need to put up two words that are the inner join. And then lastly, in the on condition, the on clause is the clause in which you specify the condition on which the join is going to be performed. So right now, as you can see, I'm trying to tell SQL that I need to join the two tables basis the condition that the patient ID in the first table must be equal to the patient ID in the second table. Now, in contrast to this, we have another syntax available to us, and it completely goes off ignoring inner join. And all we need to do is, in the place of an inner join that we wrote in the previous syntax, we simply need to use a comma. And instead of the on clause, we need a where clause, where again the condition that we need to satisfy for rows to be extracted from the two tables need to be put over here. Now in Access, I have prepared up a small query which lets us select certain columns from the two tables, and the two tables being the biodata table and the paycheck table. And I have firstly used the inner join keywords as the syntax on which I'm going to give a demonstration upon. And you can see that the condition on which I'm going to perform up an inner join is that the employee code in the first table must be equal to the employee code in the second table. Now, before we run this query, let's go manually to these two tables and try to understand what would be the results of this join. So as you can see that since the most important portion of this query is this on clause, because this is going to tell us the basis on which inner join is going to be performed. Now, recall from our discussion on what would an inner join produce results as. So an inner join is going to give you only those rows which are going to be common between the two tables. And how are we going to decide the common rows? Well, the on condition helps us decide which are the common rows between the two tables. So literally, this whole statement translates to the fact that I want you to return only those rows from both of these tables which have a common employee code. So let's see what kind of employee codes we have in these two tables. So this is the employee code variable over here, and this is again the employee code variable in the biodata one. So although most of them are quite similar, but there is some dissimilarities also. As you can see in the ID number 6, we have different employee codes, and also for row 8 we have a different employee code, and for row 10th also we have a different employee code. So what we can expect is that ID number 6th, 8th and 10th won't really be returned, and all of the other rows which have similar employee codes in both of the data sets are going to be returned. So let's check our assumption. So this is what you get. So right now, as you would know that there were 11 rows in the original table. So if we exclude 3 of them, it is going to return us only 8 rows, and which is in fact the case. These are 8 in number. Now just to make things even more clear, let's add up an ID variable over here so that we are able to understand which IDs were excluded and which were included. So this is what you get. So the ID variable number 6th, 8th and 10th have disappeared, and as we discussed, the only reason that this is happening is that those were dissimilar employee codes in both of these data sets, and they had to be ignored by the inner join syntax. So closely related to this thing is the other inner join syntax which we discussed, and as we know that the only thing we need to replace is the words inner join by a comma, and we need to change onto the where clause. So this is also an inner join syntax which would work. So let's try running this and hope that our results are same in both the cases. So again, we are given the same results, and only the 6th, 8th and the 10th row have been eliminated, and rest all have been kept because they had a simpler employee code. So this is all about the inner join syntax in MS Access SQL. In the next session, we're going to move on to the left outer join. Hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you.